was genuinely surprised during this movie. It was actually good. Could you imagine? This movie doesn't spend any time setting up what a Suicide Squad is, what this movie is about. They just hop straight into it. It's like World War Z levels of just like hopping into something. You know, World War Z, it starts like super quick. That's how quick this movie starts. Unlike the 2016 version, this one actually expects you to know what a Suicide Squad is, what the premise of the movie is. It just hops straight into the action, just jumps right into it, like actually World War Z levels of quickness of how fast it gets into the action. And you know, that fast pace at the beginning, I love that. That was very nice to see. But yeah, this whole movie, dude, I just wasn't expecting. But yeah, welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. This is my The Suicide Squad review, not Suicide Squad. Not to get it confused, you know, The Suicide Squad this time, by James Gunn, the Guardians of the Galaxy director. Very good director, writer, all of that. You can definitely feel his presence in this movie. I'll talk more about how you can like feel that it's a James Gunn movie, but we'll get into that in a bit. I kind of want to shorten up these reviews because I know my Black Widow one was pretty long, like 20 something minutes. I don't know, I just want a kind of like quick pace, so I got some bullet points here that I want to hit, but I'm not going to be reading a script or anything, just some bullet points here. And then I'll give you the rating at the end for the Suicide Squad, and then that's about it for the video. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started with the video, comment down below what you think the movie deserves, 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 100. Let me know your opinion before maybe I change your opinion, I don't know. And yeah, I will say this is a non-spoiler review, so if you're looking for a non-spoiler review, if you haven't even seen it yet, avoid the comments because I'm sure people will be talking about it down below, but I will try my best to not spoil anything. I consider anything a spoiler. I consider trailers a spoiler. So I'll really try to not spoil too much. But yeah, I think the more blind you go into this movie, it's just gonna blow you away. Like, actually, it is crazy where this movie goes. The less you know, the better. So if you really haven't seen it, don't even watch any reviews. Just go see it right now. It's a positive review. You're gonna love the movie. And lastly, I think like 96% of people that watch my videos are not subscribed. So if you are not subscribed, or if you're new here, welcome to the channel. Consider subscribing. It helps me a lot. And yeah, let's hop into the review. So I just want to start by saying I liked 2016 Suicide Squad, but this one just blows out of the park. I went to theaters to see the first Suicide Squad twice. I noticed some flaws the second time, but the first time I really thought it was one of the best DC movies I've seen. Just because, I don't know, something about seeing a bunch of villains do stuff together is really cool to me, and I really didn't know much about any of the villains in that movie, so I thought it was pretty cool. I guess if you know a lot about the comics and those characters, they could have been ruined for you in that movie. So I understand that now. And I understood it the second time watching. I was like, this is very weird. And the third act of the first Suicide Squad is like 10 minutes long. It's like a very short third act, or like final boss fight, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of flaws with the first one. And this one is like 10 times better. If you're a DC fan and you have a problem with James Gunn because he worked on Marvel movies and is still working on Marvel movies, and you don't want to see this just to not support Marvel, because I know there's some DC people out there that are like that. What are you doing? This is probably going to be one of the best DC movies you'll see that's currently out. Definitely one of the most highly rated ones. And one that doesn't take itself seriously, kind of like Shazam in a way. Shazam is kind of serious at the same time, but like the characters in it are very comedic. But this one just like really does not take itself seriously at all. Not for a single second. And even when it does try to like emotionally attach you to a character, and this isn't a bad thing, but when it does try to emotionally attach you to a character, it's just turned into a joke at the same time. For example, King Shark, Inawe, whatever you want to call him, he's very sad, right? He has no friends. So it makes you feel bad for the character, but at the same time, that whole scene where he's talking about how he has no friends and stuff and he wants friends, it turned into a joke at the same time. It's one of the funnier parts of the movie. Even though the writing is trying to tell you to get emotionally attached to the character, it's a joke at the same time. It's like funny. Again, with Polka Dot Man, a sad character. You can see this in the trailers too. He's a very sad, depressed character. And it gets you a little emotional, it gets you a little attached to him, and you feel bad, right? That's the way this movie gets you attached to characters. You feel bad for them. They're villains, you're not supposed to like them anyways, but the way they get you to like them is you feel bad for their backstories. But then it's also turned into a joke. Polka Dot Man has a very sad backstory, right? His mom is a very evil person, experimented on him, turned him into the Polka Dot Man. If you don't know anything about the character, that's not really a spoiler, because like you should go in, I guess, knowing, a lot of people go in knowing like who these characters are already. So it's like a sad backstory, but then that whole thing with his mom is turned into a complete joke. So yeah, don't take the movie seriously, and don't get attached to any characters. As James Gunn has said, don't get attached to characters. Everybody dies. Except, not really, I'm just exaggerating. Not everyone dies, but like, you know, don't get attached to any characters because there's a lot of death in this movie. Like, Jesus, dude, this might be the most R-rated movie I've ever seen in my life. Also, that's not a spoiler because James Gunn has said that, so. But literally, guys, I went into this movie thinking it was PG-13. If you've seen this movie, it is not PG-13. I literally went in thinking it was PG-13. Like, you know, another nice DC movie, just a little redo of the first Suicide Squad in 2016. Nope. This is completely different, dude. This is R-rated, very, very R-rated. So much blood, so much gore. Everyone is a meat balloon, meat and watermelon in this. Everyone's head is watermelon. Everyone's bodies are made out of the same material that a Quentin Tarantino third act of a movie are made out of. And there's nudity in this movie, guys. Like, this is not a movie for children. I will say that. Not a movie for children. If you are 2 years old, 6 years old, whatever, you're not allowed to watch this. What the heck am I talking about? There's no 2-year-olds watching this video. But yeah, getting back to how every emotional attachment, every single thing, not even trying to get you attached to a character is executed well, I guess, and is turned into a joke. I think it actually works in this case for the movie. I think the writing just makes it all work because you really, starting off at the beginning, you don't take it seriously, and by the end, you definitely don't take it seriously at all. So I think that helps. If you are going in looking for a DC gritty, dark experience, sure, it's dark, but no, it's not going to be a super serious movie like the rest of the DC movies. And this movie is long, like, or it's not long, it's 2 hours and 12 minutes or whatever. It feels very long. I felt like I was in the theater for like 3 hours, but not in a bad way, right? This movie is also all over the place. It is absolutely crazy, jumping through all this stuff. I don't want to get too much into it, but it is very long, feels all over the place, but none of that in a bad way. It actually works for the most part. There's some scenes that I don't think needed to be in the movie. Maybe they did. Maybe someone can convince me that some scenes had to be in there, but there's little nitpicks in this movie that I'll get into at the end. Most of it flowed pretty well. The pacing was there for the most part. There's just some times where it jumps to something else and you're like, I don't want to see this. Go back to the main cast or whatever. I guess the thing with the jumping around that I didn't like, that I'm just now realizing, is that, like, let's take for example Avengers Infinity War, right? You jump around to all these different characters all over the place, but the thing is, I'm already emotionally attached to all those Marvel characters. I love them all, so jumping to them doesn't feel that bad in the pacing of the story because I want to see what they're doing right now. But when it jumps to a character like Harley Quinn way over here on her own, and I'm not too emotionally attached to her, and maybe that's my own fault. Some people will love when it jumps over to her, and I do love a lot of the scenes where it does jump over to her, but there's just one that doesn't fit too well. But when it jumps over to them, you're like, no, just go back to the the main cast that is doing the Suicide Squad mission right now. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but one of those scenes, I think it's like one of the first times it jumps over. I don't know how everybody feels about that. Let me know in the comments if you know what scene I'm talking about. I don't want to get too much into spoilers. I don't want to say exactly what the scene's about or anything, but I don't know how to explain stuff without spoiling, so I'll just leave that out there. Some of the pacing is off, and when I relate it to Avengers Infinity War, I actually care about the characters when it jumps over, but when it jumps to someone they haven't really established too much in the movie, they maybe have like 4 minutes of screen time, then I'm just like, we should go back, but it is developing that character a little bit. It just felt like there was some very long scene in there that I don't think fully needed to be in there, and then it was played off as a joke at the end, but nobody laughed in the theater, so it was, I don't know, a little weird. That's another thing with the movie. I think a lot of the jokes were in the trailers, sadly, so again, the more blind you go into this movie, I think the better it is. But yeah, the theater wasn't laughing too much in this movie, even though all of it was a joke. I think that's because a lot of the jokes were just straight up like screaming at each other, like the Suicide Squad members screaming at each other, lots of yelling, face cam, you know, style, just right here, close up shot, screaming at the top of their lungs. Amanda Waller's character yelling in your face, absolutely just close up to her teeth. You can see the plaque on her teeth screaming at you. But yeah, some of those yelling scenes just felt a little uncomfortable. Like, I think some of them were meant to be funny, but nobody was really laughing. Actual funny moments that like did land, that weren't so sudden in your face, just like top of the lungs screaming, were like the funny moments where you see a character doing something funny in the background, or one of the characters' reaction shots to someone else saying something, or Peacemaker showing up in his underwear at one scene. Those were the funny moments that did stick. But there was a lot of yelling in this movie. Maybe it was just the IMAX theater like clipping audio and blowing all of our ears out, but I don't know, some of it wasn't that funny, and that could just be me and the entire theater that I was in. But maybe, I don't know, let me know if a lot of the jokes landed for you guys. But it seems like maybe like 30 or 40% of them didn't land, which was a little disappointing. You might be thinking like 30 or 40%, that's the minority of the jokes, right? But when the whole movie's a joke, 30 and 40% is a lot of jokes that didn't land. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. It is a really funny movie, but if you've already seen the trailers, I think you've seen a lot of the jokes that are going to be in the movie. And that's the thing with trailers, dude. Like, when so many trailers for a movie come out, they're going to spoil a lot of the jokes. They're going to spoil a lot of the plot in the trailers. So if you're like, I didn't watch too many trailers for this, but I still saw a lot of the jokes somehow. Like, I already knew they were coming. And yeah, that's the thing with trailers. Again, like, trailers spoil movies a lot of the time. You're like, I haven't seen this shot yet, so this is coming up. So I can't really fault the movie for that. But yeah, they shouldn't throw all their eggs in one trailer basket, you know? Throw all the jokes in one trailer. Okay, let's talk about James Gunn in this movie. So James Gunn, I mean, he's not in the movie, but he directed it, wrote it, you know? You can really feel James Gunn's presence in this movie. The title cards, there are a ton of them. Probably like 15 or 20 like title cards, Guardians of the Galaxy style, in a way, you know, where it pops up showing their new location or time of the scene happening or whatever. You can really feel James Gunn in this movie. So many transitions, so many title cards, so many little timestamps all over the place, which might throw some people out of the movie, but it's good to know like where you're at in the story at what points. It's kind of like in the new Snyder Cut Justice League, where time cards pop up every act, I guess, and it just tells you exactly what's going on. So that's appreciated. Some of them are a little weird. They kind of throw you out. You're like, some of them you cringe at, like blood will pour out of someone and they'll spell something like Warner Bros. Presents or whatever. There's some flames in the background and it spells something. There's some roots sticking out of the ground. There's some bubbles. Sometimes the clouds will spell something. You zoom in on an elevator button and it'll spell something. You zoom in on someone's mole and it'll spell something. It's disgusting. But, you know, lots of title cards everywhere throughout the entire movie. So some people will like that, some people won't. Too bad. Too bad if you don't like it, I guess. But you know, that's what James Gunn does, so you can really feel that. Yeah, I appreciate all the title cards and the transitions when we're hopping through time into other characters. But that one scene that didn't work out with Harley, if you want, just skip like 1 minute forward in the video. I'm just going to spoil it a little bit, even though it's not that big of a scene. But that one scene that didn't work with Harley was the one where she's like about to marry that dude. They're in his big mansion or whatever. I think he's like the president or something. I completely forgot, but that was a very long scene. I didn't think needed to be in there completely. And then by the end, she just like shoots him at the window, you know, that whole scene. So I think a lot of that didn't need to be there. It felt very long, like maybe like a 10-minute long scene that didn't fit too well. But it does tie into the rest of the movie where she's like getting tortured and tied up in their dungeon, you know? So, and then it leads into a really cool scene later on in the movie where she's escaping. But I feel like that whole before part didn't need to be super long and the movie could have been trimmed down a little bit. But I don't know. Let me know how you guys feel about that scene. It just felt very long. But it was also a whole music sequence, so I don't know. Maybe if I watch it again, it'll fit better. But I was just like, I want to get back to the island with our, you know, Peacemaker, Shark Man, and all this other stuff. But yeah, so that was one of the scenes that didn't fit too well with me. But the rest, the pacing, the transitions, everything, very, very good. Now let's get into a little bit of the characters. Inawe, or King Shark. I think the audience will mostly connect with this character. It seems like he was trending on Twitter. It seems like a lot of people really, really like this character. He was funny every time he was on screen. Sylvester Stallone did a great job of just voice acting this shark. I don't want to spoil too much about him, but he's very funny every time he's on screen. And I think the audience members will get mostly emotionally attached to him. Maybe not. There's some other characters that also get a little bit of emotion, but everything's turned into a joke by the end, so it doesn't really matter who you get mostly attached to. James Gunn doesn't want you to get attached to anyone anyways. But yeah, Ratcatcher 2, I'm just gonna call her Ratcatcher because who cares about the first one, right? Except he's I don't know if I should spoil it. No, I'm not gonna spoil it, but he's pretty cool in the movie. I think Ratcatcher 1, when it does flashback, establishes the main theme of the movie about the rats and everything. So if you want to know the theme of the movie, you gotta wait till the third act and seeing what Ratcatcher 1 has to say in a little flashback. But I think that's one of the most emotional scenes in the movie and establishes the main theme. You know, if you know what I'm talking about, because this is spoiler free. I think Ratcatcher 1 says it best, and I'm not gonna say the theme here. So watch the movie. He will tell you the theme of the movie and the main takeaways and, you know, the lesson learned and everything. But yeah, Ratcatcher 2 and King Shark's relationship, I think audiences will get most emotionally attached to that and just love that relationship. I loved it, dude. Oh, so cute, you know. Those two characters are very cute. But yeah, I think they have the best emotional attachment in the movie with the audience. I think Rick Flag is done a lot better here. I didn't even remember him in the first Suicide Squad. I thought he was just like Soldier Man 1 or something. Literally, I thought he was just a soldier dude in the first one. I didn't know he was meant to be a character. Here, Rick Flag is back. He's an actual character. I really don't remember him for the first one. People have said he's in the first one. I'm not even gonna look it up. If he's not even in the first one, then sorry that I'm saying he's in the first one, but apparently he was in the first one. Rick Flag is an actual character here. You might get mostly emotional attached to him. I don't know. These characters you can still get attached with even though James Gunn doesn't want you to. Maybe even Bloodsport. It seemed like the movie wanted you to get attached to Bloodsport and his kid in this movie, but I don't know if it worked too well. I don't know. There's some weird scenes with him and his kid near the beginning, and I don't know how people feel about that. Can't get too much into it. Again, this is spoiler free, but I think it wants you to get attached to Bloodsport. And I will say Bloodsport is one of the coolest like characters in this movie for sure, but not to be emotionally attached with, I don't think. But yeah, they really try to make you care about Bloodsport and its daughter, and I don't think it worked for me. I don't think it worked for a lot of people. I mean, it makes you feel bad for them. That relationship's not turned into a joke, actually, I don't think. Maybe at the beginning a little bit of a joke, but that's the one that's not turned into a joke, but still it doesn't really get you attached to the characters that much. Now, I really like Bloodsport. I think his abilities are sick. He's really cool in this movie. His little voice modulator in his helmet. Bloodsport's definitely one of the coolest characters in the movie. But yeah, no, I think it tries too hard to get you attached to him when they set up at the beginning that his relationship with his daughter is a little bit weird, a little bit of a joke. Lots of yelling, and I didn't get too attached to them from the beginning. But you know, it tries really hard to get you there. Polka Dot Man as well, very likable character. Maybe one of my favorite in the entire movie. There's just moments where you see him, he's like such a depressed character. You see him happy at moments, you see him dance, and you see him proud of himself. And you get really attached to him. But it's turned into a joke. You have to watch the movie, but it is turned into a joke. But I think he was one of my favorites in the entire movie. And Peacemaker, probably the funniest. He got the most laughs out of the entire audience in the entire movie. Just it's John Cena, guys. Not that John Cena is funny or anything, but like, I mean, I don't know much that John Cena is in, except he's in Fast and the Furious, which I haven't seen. He's like Fred's dad in the Fred movies. I really don't know much about John Cena, but this is probably going to be the best you'll see him in anything. That's what I've heard from others, and that's, in my opinion, just, I haven't seen him in too much other stuff, but this is probably the best you'll see from him. And James Gunn announced a spin-off with him. So yeah, his character is going to get a spinoff. I won't say if that's a prequel. Like, I won't spoil if he dies or what happens in this movie. Could be a sequel, could be a prequel. You don't know until you watch the movie. Yeah, Peacemaker is getting a spinoff show, so that'll be really cool. Or he's going to be in Doom Patrol. I don't know. Is that even in the DC EU? Is this even in the... I don't know what's going on with the DC universe. Warner Bros. Doesn't even know what's going on, I don't think. But he's going to be in something else. Will it be a prequel? Will it be a sequel? Does he survive? Does he die? Who knows? You gotta watch the movie. But yeah, they do get you to like his character a lot. Not getting emotionally attached to him because he doesn't really have much of that. But you just like him because he's funny. But yeah, he's just a really funny character, just a straight up blunt dude, just say it to your face kind of guy, and very, very violent. He's a violent person, and his name does not fit at all, but it kind of fits. He's kind of like Punisher in a way. But yeah, I really enjoyed his character, and it's probably one of the best roles you'll see John Cena in. Okay, now there is a part of the movie that threw me out of the movie for a second, and it's the smallest nitpick, most likely. I think most people didn't notice this, or they did. I haven't looked it up yet if people noticed it. But near the end of the second act, or near the start of the third act, all these characters, I'm not going to say who makes it to the third act, I'm not going to spoil anything, but all these characters exit a bus, right? It's pouring down rain. Just absolutely not Niagara Falls raining on these people. So much rain. They enter a building. There's all these soldiers, okay? Everyone's soaking wet. They're yelling in the rain, blah, 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 pouring down, dripping all over them. Again, lots of rain, right? They enter the building. They spend 8 minutes in there, according to the title cards. 8 minutes in the building. And whoa, I didn't notice if actually when they enter the building, if they're still leaving like watery footprints and if they're soaking wet in there or anything. So that part didn't throw me out because I wasn't paying attention to if they're still wet on the inside of the building. But upon exiting the building 8 minutes later, everyone's dry. There's no wetness on the ground. Every soldier out there who had outfits that were like dragging, dripping down with rain, right? They're not wet anymore. Nobody's wet. It was Niagara Falls waterfalls pouring on these people, and then they exit the building 8 minutes later, and every soldier is perfectly clean, dry. Just, I think that happened on another part of the movie as well, maybe during the beginning. I don't know. Small nitpicks like that. That's probably not going to take off points really, but like that was just weird to see. It really threw me out. I was like, wait, wasn't everyone just like soaking before, and then 8 minutes go by and everyone's just dry as day, dude? Crazy. I don't know. That threw me out of the movie, but that's just a small nitpick. And like most movies, it is a big CGI fest at times, and some of the CGI lands, some of it doesn't. I will say, the main villain and all this other stuff, really, really good CGI in my opinion. I loved seeing, I'm not going to spoil it. I don't want to spoil it, but lots of good, really good CGI. A little bit at the beginning of the movie, the CGI wasn't there. There's so much blood and head explosions in this movie, of course, because it's R-rated. A lot of that looked pretty good, some of it didn't. But like the main big CGI things that you'd think would look bad look very top-notch, very good. So I appreciate that. Good CGI is always good. You know, I hated on Snyder Cut because of its terrible CGI, but this one did very, very well. But then there were times that I'm gonna have to subtract some points because it was just, there was some bad CGI at times, but most of it was really, really good. Like compared to Snyder Cut, Snyder Cut was 4 hours with some bad CGI at times. This one had a lot less of the bad CGI and a lot more of the good CGI, like really good CGI, like very believable stuff at times, which I'm not gonna spoil. But you know, if you've seen the movie during at least the third act, you know what I'm talking about. And I think if you watch the trailers, you know, I don't want to spoil it, but you know what the main villain is and all this other stuff, so you'll know. I think it looked really, really good. But yeah, anyways, we're gonna plug this in here to the stinker meter, and I'm giving this 15% stink, meaning 85% on the stinker meter. I think this was a 8.5 out of 10 movie. This was very, very good. Definitely didn't expect it at all going in. I literally thought it was PG-13. But yeah, that's about it for the Suicide Squad. I think it's a really good movie, very solid. Definitely definitely go see it in theaters. I don't know how it would do. Everything's better in theaters, you know. Everything's better in theaters. Go watch it in theaters. Don't watch it on HBO Max. It's just, it is meant for the theaters. You'll probably hear some audience members laugh at times that get you to laugh. I don't know. Superhero movies are better in theaters. Go watch it in theaters. And yeah, 85%. Let me know what your thoughts on the movie down below. Hopefully I didn't spoil anything for you non-movie watchers. And yeah, that's about it. Subscribe, leave a like, share it with your friends, and I'll see you guys in the next video.